Jason's heart raced as he carefully stepped forward, the ground beneath him shifting and cracking in strange patterns. He had never seen anything like this before. The alien planet was like a dream, but a dangerous one. His mission here had been simple: retrieve an artifact from the ruins of a long-dead alien civilization. Yet he quickly realized that this was not going to be a simple task. The ancient city sprawled across the landscape, its towering structures twisted and cracked with age. Overgrown vines crept up the sides of buildings and strange plants grew. In the cracks of the broken stones, Jason had landed in the middle of the ruins, his ship hidden behind a large rock formation. The planet was mostly uncharted, and the chances of encountering any sentient beings here were slim, or so he thought. He took a deep breath, his footsteps echoing in the quiet. His scanner beeped lightly, signaling that the artifact was close. The device showed it inside a large temple-like structure ahead, with walls adorned with strange symbols and murals. He glanced at his watch. Time was ticking. He needed to get in and out before any alien forces, if there were any, found him. But as Jason approached the entrance of the temple, something changed in the air. A strange feeling of unease crawled up his spine. He ignored the feeling and pushed forward. The stone door to the temple was partially open, and as Jason squeezed through the narrow gap, he felt an odd chill sweep over him. The inside of the temple was dark, but there was a faint glow from something deep within. Jason's eyes narrowed. As he stepped forward, shining his flashlight on the symbols around him, double quotes, "Interesting, ... he muttered, his voice bouncing off the stone walls. The symbols looked like nothing he had ever seen before, and as he studied them, he felt an odd sense of familiarity, as if the patterns were pulling him toward something. He walked deeper into the temple, his boots crunching softly on the dust-covered floor. The glowing light ahead grew brighter, and soon he found himself standing before a massive stone altar. On top of the altar lay the artifact. It was a crystal, about the size of his fist, glowing with a faint, otherworldly light. The surface was smooth and its edges were sharp, as if it had been perfectly cut by some unknown force. Jason reached out to touch it. And the moment his fingers brushed against the cool surface, the ground beneath him trembled. The crystal pulsed with energy, and Jason felt a surge of warmth rush through his body. His vision blurred for a second, and when it cleared, he saw something that made his heart stop. A figure standing before him, cloaked in shimmering light. The figure was tall, almost impossibly tall, with glowing eyes and skin that seemed to shift in color. The alien had a regal air about her, and despite her beauty, Jason could feel the immense power radiating from her. She was unlike anything he had ever seen, and her presence was both commanding and terrifying. You ... You are not supposed to be here, the alien said in a voice that seemed to echo in his mind. It was soft, yet filled with authority. Jason stood frozen, unsure of how to respond. His mind raced. Should he try to explain himself, or should he run? But before he could decide, the alien spoke again, her gaze locking onto him. You are human ... aren't you? Jason's heart skipped a beat. His mind screamed that this couldn't be happening. How could this alien, who seemed to be some kind of queen or ruler, know about humans? Yes, Jason finally managed to say, his voice shaky. I'm human. My name is Jason. The alien's eyes seemed to soften, and she tilted her head as if studying him with an expression of both curiosity and disbelief. A human ... double quotes, she murmured, more to herself than to him. I have heard of you, but I never believed you were real. Jason's mind raced as he tried to process what was happening. Heard of humans? How? The alien queen's gaze hardened, and her voice took on a more serious tone. We have legends ... stories of your kind. The myths say you were once powerful, but you disappeared. Faded into nothing. She paused, her eyes narrowing as if she were searching for something, but now I see that the stories were not false. You are real. Jason could barely comprehend what she was saying. But how do you know about humans? He repeated, his mind struggling to keep up. The alien queen's eyes glowed brightly. She stepped closer, studying him with a deep intensity. we have. Records passed down through generations. Tales of your people, of your strength, and your ability to survive against all odds. But I never believed any of it. The stories of a race that could stand against the galaxy, seemed too impossible. Jason's breath caught in his throat. So you thought we were just myths? He asked, feeling a strange mix of frustration and disbelief. Just stories? The Queen nodded slowly. Yes, just fiction, till now. Jason couldn't help but laugh nervously. I'm real, and I'm here because of an artifact. Queen's gaze shifted to the crystal that Jason had touched. Her eyes widened in recognition, and she stepped back, suddenly wary. The artifact is ancient, powerful. It holds the memories of a race long gone, a race that knew much about the future of the galaxy. It's said to grant its wielder unimaginable power. Jason felt a shiver run down his spine. This wasn't just a relic, it was far more than that. Now it seemed like he was at the center of something much larger than himself. But what did all of this mean for him? And why had this alien queen, who had once dismissed humans as nothing more than fiction, now believed in him? As the queen studied him, her gaze softened once more. She sighed, her posture relaxing slightly. I still don't fully understand. Human, but you have given me reason to believe in the impossible. Jason met her gaze, his heart pounding. I'm just a human, trying to survive, he said, his voice steady now. But if you want to believe in something more, then I'm here. I won't let you down. The Queen stared at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she nodded, her voice soft but filled with a new sense of purpose. We will see, human. We will see. Jason's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts as he stood in the presence of the alien queen. The realization that someone, or something, from another galaxy had not only heard of humans, but also dismissed them as myths, was enough to send a shiver down his spine. It was strange, this feeling of being a part of something so much larger than himself. But as the Queen looked at him, a glimmer of curiosity in her glowing eyes, Jason felt a shift. He wasn't just a human anymore. He was a puzzle waiting to be solved. After a long silence, the Queen spoke again, her voice smooth and regal. You are far more than what I imagined, human. You have courage and the will to survive. But your kind is not meant for this galaxy. You were never meant to be a part of the ancient stories. Jason stood tall, trying to steady himself. I didn't ask to be a part of anything. Just doing my job, finding an artifact, getting out alive. But it seems there's a lot more going on here than I thought. The Queen's sharp gaze softened, and she turned her back to him. Her long, flowing robes shimmered with the movement. You are right, she said quietly, as though speaking more to herself than to Jason. You were never meant to be part of this galaxy. But now that you are, there is no turning back. Jason didn't know what to say. He had expected to find an artifact, maybe encounter a few strange beings, but not an alien queen who seemed so powerful and yet so vulnerable in her thoughts. He watched her carefully, unsure of what his next move should be. She had believed humans were mere fiction until now, but something in the way she looked at him told him that everything had changed. And somehow he was caught in the middle of it. Why did you come here? The Queen asked suddenly, turning her head to face him. Her voice was sharper now, a mix of curiosity and caution. What is it that brings you, a human, to this place? There must be something more than a mere mission driving you. Jason took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her question. He had never really thought about it that way. I'm here to do a job, he said slowly. Okay. Retrieve the artifact, get out alive, and report back to my superiors. It's what I was trained for. The Queen looked at him as if she didn't believe him. Her gaze held something deeper, an understanding that humans, in their simplicity, always had something more to offer. I do not believe you, she said. There is more to you than just completing a task. Humans always have more to them, more than anyone realizes. Jason shifted uneasily under her stare, feeling a strange warmth spread across his chest. She was right. There was more to him, but he hadn't thought about it until now. He had always been taught that survival was the goal, that every mission, every goal was just a stepping stone to something else. But now, in the presence of this ancient, powerful alien queen, he realized that perhaps there was more to his journey than just following orders. "You're different from the others," the queen continued, her voice quiet but intense. "I can see it in your eyes. You're not like the others who've crossed paths with me. There's something in you, something that draws me in, something familiar." Jason blinked. The idea that he could have something in common with this alien queen, this figure of power and history, was both humbling and confusing. "What do you mean?" he asked. The queen took a step forward, closing the distance between them. "The energy around you. It resonates with the artifact," she said softly. "It's as if you belong here."
Oh.
The artifact didn't just choose you randomly. It chose you because you were a part of something greater. You're not just a human in the galaxy. You are a human destined to be a part of it. Jason felt his heart race again, not out of fear, but out of sheer disbelief. Was it possible? Was he really part of something so much bigger than a simple mission? But the more he looked into the queen's eyes, the more he realized that she wasn't just speaking words. She believed it. She believed in him. "You don't trust me?" Jason said with a frown, trying to process everything she had said. "You think I'm some kind of tool to be used?" The queen's face softened slightly, her eyes flickering with something like regret. "No," she whispered. "I do not see you as a tool, human. I see you as a force that could change the future of this galaxy." Jason shook his head in confusion. "How can I change the future? I'm just one man, a human, no different from the millions of others across the galaxy." The queen's expression grew serious. "Again, that is where you are wrong," she said, her voice firm and full of conviction. "Humans are not like other species. You have a resilience, a spirit that none of us can match. It is said that humans are the greatest force of life in the galaxy, capable of enduring anything, even the impossible. Perhaps, just perhaps, you are the one who will prove that. You are meant for something greater than just survival." Jason was speechless. He never thought anyone, especially an alien queen, would believe in humans the way she did. He had heard stories from his fellow soldiers of humans being tough, resilient, and capable of facing the harshest realities. But to hear it from someone like her, someone with the power to change the fate of entire civilizations, made it feel ... real. "How do you know all of this?" Jason asked, his voice small but filled with wonder. The queen's lips curved into a slight smile. "I've studied your kind for a long time, long before you ever set foot in this galaxy. Your species has always intrigued me, though I kept it hidden. Many believe humans are just a footnote in history, a forgotten race. But I see now that you are not to be forgotten. You are to be remembered." The weight of her words settled deep in Jason's chest. For the first time since he arrived, he felt a sense of purpose. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about understanding who he was, what humans were, and why they had been chosen for this moment. "What happens now?" he asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. The queen studied him for a long moment. And then she stepped back, her regal posture returning. "Now," she said, "we must uncover the truth behind the artifact and what it means for both our peoples. There is much we do not know, but one thing is certain. You are no longer just a human. You are a part of this galaxy's future, whether you believe it or not." Jason took a deep breath, his resolve strengthening. "I don't know what's ahead, but I'll follow you. I'll help you uncover the truth. We'll figure it out together." The queen gave a small nod, her eyes shining with an emotion that was rare for her kind hope. "Together, human, we will." Jason's feet echoed against the stone floor as he walked beside the queen, his mind still trying to catch up with everything that had happened in the past few hours. The ancient temple they had found the artifact in was vast, with towering stone pillars and murals on the walls that seemed to tell stories of battles, ancient alliances, and the forgotten history of the galaxy. But now, instead of admiring the temple, Jason found his focus on the alien queen beside him. Her presence was both majestic and intimidating. She walked with grace, every step calculated, every movement deliberate. Her eyes, glowing with an inner light, never seemed to leave him. Jason had spent most of his life in the military, surrounded by tough soldiers and intense situations. But nothing could have prepared him for the moment when an alien queen took interest in him. The queen spoke as they moved deeper into the temple, her voice calm yet filled with power. "We must understand the artifact, Jason. It is the key to unlocking the forgotten histories of the galaxy. The ones who controlled this artifact before knew things no one else did." Jason nodded, but he couldn't help feeling a growing sense of unease. This artifact, this relic that had chosen him, seemed to hold so many secrets. And now he was caught in the middle of something bigger than he could have ever imagined. "I don't know if I'm the right person for this," he said quietly. "I'm just a soldier, not a scholar, not a historian." The queen turned to him, her eyes studying him with a deep, unwavering intensity. "You are more than just a soldier. You carry the potential of your species, and that is why you were chosen. This artifact doesn't just choose anyone. It chose you because of your resilience, because of your heart." Jason felt a strange warmth spread across his chest at her words. He wasn't used to hearing such things from anyone, let alone an alien queen. But as much as he tried to push it aside, he couldn't deny the strange connection that was growing between them. He hadn't asked for it. He hadn't expected it. But something about the queen, her strength, her grace, and the way she believed in him made him feel ... important. The two of them walked for what felt like hours, the air growing heavier with every step. The deeper they went into the temple, the darker it became, and Jason found himself depending more and more on the light from the artifact they had retrieved. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Do you think they'll come for us?" Jason asked, glancing over at the queen. His voice was low, a mix of concern and curiosity. "The others, I mean. The ones who want this artifact." The queen's expression hardened. "They will," she said with certainty. "There are those who seek the power of the artifact for their own ends, but they do not understand its true potential. Only those who are chosen can unlock its secrets. And you, human, have been chosen." Jason wasn't sure if he believed her completely, but there was something in her voice that made him want to trust her. He had always been a man of logic, of reason, but this was different. This was beyond logic. This was something he could not explain, something that felt ... right. After a long silence, they arrived at a massive chamber. The walls were covered in ancient symbols, and in the center of the room stood a large stone pedestal. The artifact, which Jason had thought was just a relic, began to pulse with energy as they approached. It was as if the very room itself had come alive. Jason hesitated for a moment, but the queen stepped forward, her hand reaching for the artifact. "Place your hand on it," she instructed, her voice soft, yet commanding. "You must connect with it. Only then will you begin to understand its power." Jason did as she said, placing his hand on the smooth surface of the artifact. The moment his skin touched it, a rush of energy flooded through him, and his vision blurred. For a brief moment, he saw flashes of ancient battles, long forgotten, civilizations, and a future that had yet to come. He felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down on him, felt the responsibility of carrying such power. But then, just as suddenly as it had come, the vision faded. And Jason was left standing in the chamber, breathless. The queen stood silently beside him, her expression unreadable. "You have seen what lies ahead," she said softly. "You now know the truth of the artifact. It is not just a relic. It is a key to the future of this galaxy. And you, human, have been entrusted with it." Jason could barely process what had just happened. His heart was pounding, his mind racing. "I don't understand," he whispered. "What does it all mean? What do you want me to do with it?" The queen looked at him with a deep, knowing gaze. "We must protect it," she said firmly, "and together we must uncover its secrets. Only then will we be able to stop the coming darkness." Jason's head swam as he tried to understand what she was saying. The artifact was more than just a relic. It was a weapon, a tool, a key. But to what? And why had it chosen him? Before he could ask another question, the queen stepped back, her gaze never leaving him. "You have a great burden now, human," she said, "but do not fear. I will guide you. We will face this together." Jason felt a knot form in his stomach. He wasn't sure he was ready for this. He had come to this planet expecting a simple mission, a retrieval job. But now, it seemed like he was standing on the edge of something much bigger, something that could change everything. He looked at the Queen. Her expression a mixture of determination and something softer, almost like ... trust. "Together," he repeated softly, a new resolve forming in his heart. "We'll face it together." For the first time, Jason felt like he wasn't alone in this. The Queen, with her strange alien power and wisdom, wasn't just some ruler from another world. She was someone who believed in him, and that, more than anything, gave him hope. The future was uncertain. But one thing was clear: whatever came next, Jason and the Queen would face it as allies. And together, they would discover the true power of the artifact hand, the fate of the galaxy. The room was quiet, except for the distant hum of the artifact still resting on the pedestal. The air felt thicker now, charged with an energy Jason could not fully understand. He stood there, trying to process everything that had happened. Visions, the power of the artifact, and the Queen's words. He glanced over at her, still standing beside him, her gaze focused on the glowing relic. "Do you understand it now?" the Queen asked, her voice soft, yet laced with a quiet urgency. Jason looked at her, shaking his head slowly. "I saw ... things. I saw battles, ancient wars, and future events. But it was all too fast, too much. I don't know what it all means." The Queen nodded, her expression unchanged. "The artifact is a bridge between the past and the future. It holds the knowledge of civilizations that have long since fallen, as well as glimpses of the path yet to come. But it is not just a tool for understanding the past. It is the key to preventing the darkness that threatens us all." Jason felt his heart skip a beat. "The darkness you mentioned before. What is it?" The Queen stepped closer to him, her eyes glowing brightly in the dim light of the chamber. "It is the Void Collective," she said, her voice steady, but with an undertone of concern. "A group of powerful and ruthless beings who seek to control the galaxy. They will stop at nothing to gain access to the knowledge within the artifact. If they succeed, they will use it to reshape the galaxy in their image, and we will have no choice but to fight back." Jason felt a chill run down his spine. The Void Collective. He had heard rumors about them during his time in the military whispers, of a shadowy force that operated in the deepest corners of the galaxy, but he had never imagined they were real. And now, they were coming for the very thing that had chosen him. The Queen's gaze softened as she watched him process her words. "You must understand, Jason. The artifact chose you because it knew you. We're capable. But you will need more than just strength and courage to face what is coming. You will need to unlock its secrets, understand its true power. And for that, you will need me." Jason's mind raced. He had always been a soldier trained to follow orders, to fight when told. But this was something entirely different. He wasn't sure if he was ready for the responsibility, if he was even capable of unlocking the artifact's secrets. "I don't know if I can do this," Jason admitted quietly. "I'm not like you. I'm just one man." The Queen stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You are more than just one man," she said, her voice soft yet firm. "You are the key to the future of this galaxy, and together we will face the darkness. Together we will unlock the power that has been hidden for so long." Jason looked into her eyes, seeing not just a queen, but a woman who believed in him. He could see the weight of her words, the burden she carried as the ruler of her people. But it was more than just duty. To her, it was a personal mission. She wanted to protect her people, to ensure the survival of the galaxy. And in that moment, Jason realized that he could not turn away from this. He couldn't run. He had to stand by her side. He said, his voice steady. "I'll do it. I'll help you unlock its secrets." The Queen's eyes brightened, a small smile playing at the corners of her lips. "I knew you would," she said. "Now let us begin." The Queen led Jason to another part of the temple, a hidden chamber that was even older than the one they had just explored. The walls here were covered in intricate carvings, each telling a story of a different time, a different civilization. Some of the carvings depicted battles, others spoke of peace, of alliances forged and broken. But in the center of the room was a large stone table, covered in symbols Jason didn't recognize. The table was unlike anything he had ever seen, and as he approached, he could feel the hum of energy coming from it. "This is the heart of the temple," the queen explained. "It is where the artifact's true power resides. It is connected to everything: the past, the future, and the fabric of the galaxy itself. To unlock its secrets, we must first understand its history." Jason nodded, trying to absorb everything. The queen stepped forward, placing her hand on the table, her fingers tracing the ancient symbols. The symbols began to glow, faintly at first, then more brightly as the queen's hand moved across the surface. Jason felt a strange sensation wash over him as the symbols seemed to come to life, shifting and changing before his eyes. "The artifact is not just a relic," the queen continued. "It is a living memory. It holds the knowledge of civilizations that have long since disappeared, but it is also a map of the future that can be shaped by those who understand it. It will not be easy, but if we unlock its secrets, we will be able to prevent the rise of the Void Collective." Jason watched in awe as the symbols shifted, revealing hidden images of planets, stars, and ships. The images seemed to tell a story, one of great battles of power and destruction. But there was something else, something more hopeful in the images. There were flashes of people, of alliances formed between different species. And at the center of it all, he saw a human figure, standing tall, holding the artifact in his hand. "Yes, is that me?" Jason asked, his voice barely a whisper. The queen turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Yes," she said. "You are the one who will wield the power of the artifact. You are the one who will lead us to victory." Jason felt a lump form in his throat as the weight of the queen's words settled on him. He had never imagined anything like this. He had never dreamed that he would be the one chosen for such a monumental task. But now, as he looked at the images before him, he knew that this was his path, this was his future, and with the queen by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next. Jason sat in the dimly lit chamber, his thoughts swirling like a storm. The images of the past, the artifact's power, and the queen's unwavering belief in him echoed in his mind. He had come here with one purpose: to retrieve an ancient artifact and return home. But now, everything had changed. The artifact was more than just a relic. It was a key to the future, a tool that could either save or destroy the galaxy. And Jason had been chosen to wield it, but the weight of that responsibility was starting to feel unbearable. The queen had shown him more of the temple, revealing hidden chambers filled with knowledge, artifacts, and records of civilizations long gone. Together, they had worked to understand the artifact's power, unlocking pieces of its secrets. But with each revelation, the pressure mounted. Jason wasn't sure if he was ready for what lay ahead. Could he truly protect the galaxy from the Void Collective? Could he live up to the Queen's expectations? As the days passed, Jason's uncertainty grew. The Queen had been a constant presence, guiding him, teaching him, and showing him the path forward. But Jason couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. There were whispers in the corners of his mind, doubts he couldn't ignore. He had always trusted his instincts as a soldier, and right now were telling him to be careful. One evening, as they sat together, the Queen looked at him with a calm, steady gaze. "You seem distant," she said, her voice gentle but probing. "Is something troubling you?" Jason hesitated. The Queen had been nothing but kind, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she wasn't telling him. He didn't want to accuse her of anything, but the more time he spent with her, the more questions arose. He couldn't help but feel like he was being kept in the dark. "I'm just not sure about all of this," Jason admitted, his voice low. "I don't know if I'm the right person to lead us. I've never been anything more than a soldier. I'm not a leader, and I'm definitely not some kind of hero." The Queen studied him for a moment, her eyes softening with understanding. "You're more than you realize, Jason. The artifact chose you for a reason. Your strength, your heart, your determination, these are the qualities that will lead us to victory. Jason sighed, rubbing his temples. I don't know if I can do this. What if I fail? What if I'm not strong enough? The queen's expression hardened slightly, her voice growing firmer. You cannot afford to doubt yourself. The galaxy is depending on you. We are depending on you. Jason looked up, meeting her gaze. I want to believe that. I really do. But I'm starting to wonder if we're being used. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. The queen's eyes widened for a brief moment, and then she stood up, turning her back to him. What are you saying, Jason? I don't know, he replied, standing as well. I just feel like there's more to all of this. Maybe I'm not the only one who wants the artifact. Maybe there are people within your own circle who want to control it for their own purposes. The queen's shoulders stiffened, and Jason could see the tension in her posture. You're wrong, she said, her voice cold. I would never allow anyone to misuse the artifact. It is too powerful. Jason stepped forward, his heart pounding. I'm not saying you would, but what about those who serve you? What about the ones who might see the artifact as a way to gain power? What if we're being manipulated without even realizing it? Queen turned to face him, her eyes flashing with a mix of anger and disbelief. You think I am using you? Jason took a step back, feeling the weight of his words. I don't know, I just ... I need to know I can trust you. There was a long silence between them. The queen's face was unreadable, her eyes searching his. She spoke, her voice quiet, but filled with an edge of vulnerability. I have never lied to you, Jason. I have always believed in you. But if you cannot trust me, then everything we've worked for will fall apart. Jason felt a knot form in his stomach. He had never intended to question her loyalty, but the doubts were growing inside him, like a dark seed that refused to be ignored. He didn't want to lose her trust, but he also couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was wrong. I'm sorry, he said, his voice softening. I didn't mean to accuse you, I just... I need to know the truth. The queen sighed, her shoulders relaxing. The truth, Jason, is that I would never use you. But I cannot speak for everyone else. There are factions within my empire who would do anything to control the artifact. And there are others, outside of my realm, who will stop at nothing to possess its power. Jason nodded slowly. I understand. But we need to be careful. We can't trust anyone completely, not even the ones who are closest to us. The queen studied him for a moment before nodding. You are right. Trust must be earned, not given freely. But just as they were starting to make progress, a loud noise echoed from the corridor outside. It was a sharp metallic sound, like the screech of a door being ripped from its hinges. Jason's heart raced as the queen immediately moved toward the door, her hand on the hilt of her weapon. What is it? Jason asked, his voice tense. The queen's eyes hardened. I don't know, but we're about to find out. Before Jason could respond, the door to the chamber flew open and a group of armed soldiers stormed in. They were not from the queen's guard. Jason could tell by the unfamiliar armor they wore. Their eyes were cold, their movements deliberate. Your Majesty, one of them said, his voice dripping with authority. What? It's time to give up the artifact. You failed, and your people are already paying the price. The queen stood tall, her hand on the weapon at her side. Who sent you? She demanded. The soldier smiled cruelly. We've come for the artifact. You've been warned, Your Majesty. Jason's heart pounded in his chest as he moved closer to the queen, his instincts kicking in. The betrayal was real. They weren't just after the artifact, they were after her, and they were willing to do whatever it took to take it. Ready? Jason whispered. We have to fight. The queen's gaze never wavered as she looked at the soldiers, her voice steady. Then let's show them just how powerful we are. The soldiers moved swiftly, their heavy boots pounding against the stone floor of the chamber. Jason could feel the tension in the air as the queen stood beside him, her posture unwavering, her hand resting on the hilt of her weapon. The sounds of their footsteps echoed in the large, silent room. It was clear they had come prepared for battle. Jason's mind raced. He had no idea who these soldiers were or what they wanted, but one thing was certain. They were here for the artifact, and they were willing to fight to get it. He glanced at the queen, who was standing with her back straight, and her eyes focused. Regal demeanor unshaken by the threat before them. Despite the danger, she exuded a calm confidence that Jason could not ignore. "We don't have much time," the Queen said softly, her voice steady as she moved closer to him. "We need to protect the artifact at all costs. It holds the key to the galaxy's future." Jason nodded, gripping his weapon tightly. He had trained for moments like this, but nothing could have prepared him for what was happening now. The Queen, the artifact, the fate of the galaxy, it was all unfolding so quickly. And yet he felt the weight of it more than ever. The choices they made now would determine everything. The lead soldier, a tall, imposing figure, stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice cold and commanding. "You have failed. Your reign is over. Hand over the artifact, and we will allow you to leave in peace." The Queen's eyes narrowed, and she took a step forward, her hand still on her weapon. "You have no idea what you are dealing with," she said, her voice now firm, laced with a quiet authority. "The artifact is not something you can control. It is beyond your understanding." Jason watched as the soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. They had underestimated her. Could tell by the way they looked at each other. They hadn't expected the Queen to stand her ground. But they didn't know the Queen like he did. She was a leader, a ruler who would do whatever it took to protect her people, without warning. The soldiers rushed forward, weapons raised. Jason reacted instinctively, pulling the Queen behind him and positioning himself between her and the oncoming attackers. He had no plan, no strategy, just pure reflex and the need to protect. The first soldier lunged, but Jason was faster. He sidestepped and knocked the soldier off balance, sending him crashing into the stone wall. Another soldier came at him from the side, but the Queen moved with surprising speed, her own weapon drawn in an instant. With a swift motion, she disarmed the soldier and sent him sprawling to the ground. Jason couldn't help but admire her skill. She was more than just a queen. She was a warrior in her own right. "We need to move," the Queen said urgently, her eyes scanning the room for more threats. "The artifact is at risk." Jason nodded, trying to steady his breathing. "Where do we go?" "There's a hidden chamber beneath the temple," she replied. "It's the safest place for the artifact. Follow me." Without another word, the Queen turned and began to move toward the far corner of the room. Jason followed closely behind, his eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. The soldiers were regrouping, and more were arriving through the large door. Time was running out. They had to get to the hidden chamber before the enemies closed in, as they made their way toward the hidden passage. Jason couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The soldiers were more organized than he had expected, and their leader had a strange, almost calculated look in his eyes. It was as if they knew exactly where to find the artifact and how to take it. The Queen seemed to sense his unease. "They've been watching us," she said quietly, "for longer than you realize." Jason's heart skipped a beat. "You mean they knew about the artifact?" The Queen nodded. "Yes, there are those who want to control it. The Void Collective has spies in places you would never expect. They've been waiting for the right moment to strike." Jason's stomach turned at the thought of being watched without even knowing it. He had trusted people, thinking they were on his side, but now he realized how fragile trust could be. It was a dangerous galaxy they were in, and even allies could turn against you when the stakes were high enough. The Queen led him down a narrow corridor that was hidden behind a false wall. The air grew colder as they descended deeper into the temple. Jason could feel the weight of the walls around them, as if the very stones were holding secrets that had been buried for centuries. "We're close," the Queen said, her voice a mere whisper. "The artifact's power is tied to this place. It must be protected." Jason couldn't help but wonder why the artifact was so important. What made it so powerful, and why had it chosen him? He wasn't anyone special. He was just a soldier. But as he followed the Queen, he realized that maybe he was meant to be more. Maybe the artifact had chosen him for a reason. It was up to him to uncover that reason. Finally, they reached the hidden chamber. The door was made of solid stone, and the Queen placed her hand on it. A faint light pulsed beneath her touch, and the door slowly creaked open, revealing a dark, circular room. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and upon it rested the artifact. Jason stepped forward, his heart racing as he approached the artifact. The moment he touched it, the room seemed to come alive with energy. The walls vibrated and the air was thick with power. Jason could feel it deep in his bones. The artifact was more than just a relic, it was alive, and it was calling to him. "This is it," the Queen said softly. "The key to everything." Jason looked at her, his mind racing. "But what now? How do we use it?" The Queen stepped forward, her eyes filled with resolve. "Now we unlock its true power, and together we change the future of this galaxy." He could feel its energy pulsing through him, and for the first time since he had arrived on this strange planet, he felt a sense of purpose. The galaxy was in danger, and it was up to him and the Queen to stop it. They weren't alone in this, and together they would face whatever came next.